On second thought, I've actually decided we should probably zero out even the positions as well. So we can zero out the positions, set neutral position, and even set a neutral scale if we need to. But in this case, it affects the implicit, so we'll leave the scale alone for now. I'm going to take the character and store a new action. Let's go with store keyable parameters current values, and we have the rest pose. Let's jump into the mixer. So this is the old one and the new one. So all the controls are there for the animator. There are still some additional things that we can do, and it has to do with color coding the sides. This is kind of a mockery of a rig in the sense that it's just too wild and flashy in color. It looks a little bit confusing. So we can clean up the visuals a little bit by creating 3 groups. So I'll create one group, again, deselect, create another group, deselect, create another group. Otherwise, you end up creating a group that is a child of a group that is the child of a group. So I'll call this left side, right side. I should probably be a bit more specific. Right side controls group, and the left side controls group. And even a midline, so middle controls group. I'll move all 3 of these into the model space, and now it's just a matter of drag and dropping these various objects and making sure that they're other left or right side objects respectively. So if I just drag a box around these objects on the left, I'll have to do a little bit of deselecting, but that's okay. All the controls in the foot are on the left. These controls in the middle aren't. The pull vector is. The eye control is a midline control, and everything else is on the, definitely on the left. I'll actually take this this head control here, and I'm going to size it up as well. There we go. Alright, just grab everything again, minus the midline objects, minus the head, but include the left eye control. So that looks like everything, and I'm going to add them to the left side controls group. Oops. Add to group. And I'm just going to hide them for now. And I'll do the same thing for the right side. Just grab all of that. And subtract the midlines. Add these to the right side group. And hide that group. And the rest of them obviously would get added to the middle group. So now I can actually unhide them all. I was just using it for a quick selection mask. And the final thing I really need to do here is just give them colors. And one of the cool things about groups is that you can control the colors of all of the objects in a group. A group acts like a holding cell for objects that share current attributes, common attributes. And if you drop an attribute onto a group, a specific attribute that reflects a parameter held by one of these objects that reside in the group, all of the objects will take on the group properties characteristic. And that's called an override. We can add an override to each of the groups by clicking Get Property, Override, and I'm going to call this the right side color override. Right side control color override. I'm in an objects only mode, so I'll actually switch to all plus animatable parameters. And here's my override, and I need to go and add parameters to the override. So I have to find some attributes on one of these objects in the group and add it to my list here. So I can take any one object, because all objects contain a display attribute, and the display attribute contains, or the display property page controls the RGB color of the objects that are displayed in the OpenGL. So I'm actually going to override the entire RGB color of all of the objects in the right side group by marking or highlighting the RGB properties. And I'm going to click outside of the property page when I'm done to accept. And you can see now that if I close my property page and I open up the override by clicking on it, I now have color slider control over those left side objects. So I can actually just copy and paste. If I open up an Explorer that I set to objects only and I hold down Control, I can drag this to the middle controls group and to the left side controls group. And if I go into each of those groups now, right side controls group, I'll maybe make that color a yellowish color, say. And I'll do the middle controls. Actually, I'll use the middle. It'll be a yellowy kind of color. Like that. The left side controls, if I go to their override, left I'll go with the blue. Just got a nice looking blue. And with the right side objects, like the red right return, I'll go with the red. Okay, now everything is absolutely kind of locked in. I have a nicer visual to my character, and I can go in and store one final action just to be sure. I'll just do a store keyable parameters, call it rest pose, and replace and remove. I'll make this one, well, actually I should probably just delete the old rest pose. This becomes the old one, this becomes the new one. I'm actually just going to get rid of the simple IK when I don't really need that. And I'm going to change the sort order to none creation. There we go. Everything was just kind of messed up in the order of the Explorer.